What's up, Coaster Demons? Here's the top 10 wooden coasters I've ever ridden. So kicking off the list, we have Thunderbolt at Kennywood at number 10. From what I remember, this ride was just okay. The airtime was not as strong as many people said it was. This ride is a pretty long ride. I got a middle row ride. It had good floater airtime, but I heard it had ejector airtime, and it most certainly does not have ejector airtime. Overall, this ride is pretty fun, and no, that is not the speed of the lift hill, but I fast forwarded because the lift hill goes like 2 miles per hour. So, anyways, this drop actually is pretty good. That's really the only ejector airtime moment of the ride, in my opinion. These turns are actually pretty rough right here, and you also need 2 people to ride, so that's not always a good thing. I do plan on heading back to Kennywood this year, possibly, and I don't know if I'm going to ride Thunderbolt because you need 2 people to ride, and I really don't have anyone to ride with me, so I'll see if an employee could ride with me, but I don't know. So that is why Thunderbolt comes in at the number 10 spot. Number 9, we have a very underrated wooden coaster. This is Comet at Hershey Park. I don't understand why some people say this ride doesn't have very good airtime. I thought this ride had pretty good airtime. It has great floater airtime. It even has some ejector moments towards the end of the ride. Comet is just a really fun wooden coaster, and it was actually one of my first major coasters I've ever ridden. I think it was my second major roller coaster I've ever ridden, only behind Rolling Thunder at Six Flags Great Adventure. So yeah, Comet's actually a really good ride. I don't understand why some people don't say it's actually that good. It's not my favorite wooden roller coaster at Hershey Park. It's my second favorite wooden coaster at Hershey Park. But it's still a really fun and enjoyable ride, and I really enjoy it because I think it's a really fun ride, and it's just a really decent wooden coaster, so that's why it's coming in at the number 9 spot. At the number 8 spot, we have an absolutely crazy wooden coaster. This is Jackrabbit at Kennywood. Oh my gosh, if there's any roller coaster at Kennywood that has crazy ejector airtime, well, out of the winning coasters, because Phantom's Revenge probably has the most ejector airtime in the park, that honor would go to Jackrabbit. Jackrabbit has some of the most insane airtime I've ever experienced on any wooden roller coaster I've ever. The back row, that double down, is practically dangerous. You almost go flying out of your seat. Like, literally, I almost went flying out of my seat, because there's basically no restraint. It's basically only a seatbelt. That's the only restraint you have. This double down right here is just insane. Jackrabbit is just a really good ride that I think is very underrated. People call this the second best wooden coaster at Kennywood. I personally think this is the best wooden roller coaster at Kennywood because it just has so much good ejector airtime, and that's why it comes in at the number 8 spot. Number 7, we have a little bit of a controversial spot. This is Lightning Racer at Hershey Park. Many people say this is one of the better wooden GCIs. However, I disagree. This ride does not have that much airtime, but I feel like the dueling aspect is very fun. However, I wish it had more airtime, so it actually is a lot lower on this list. I used to really like Lightning Racer a lot more, but it's gotten very rough over the years, and it's just not the same as it used to be. It's not a bad ride at all. I do like Lightning Racer, but it's definitely not like a top 6 wooden coaster for me anymore. I don't know. Maybe after I ride it again this year, it will be better, and then it will move up on my wooden coaster rankings. But for now, it's going to be staying at the number 7 spot. But that does not mean Lightning Racer is a bad ride, because it's a fun ride. But unfortunately, it's a pretty rough ride now, and that's why I'm putting it at the number 7 spot. Number 6, we have a very controversial spot. This is Great White at Maury's Pier. If Raging Bull was a wooden coaster, this would be it. Now, I have not been in Raging Bull yet, but it looks like an absolutely awesome ride. In the back row, that drop out of the station gives crazy ejector airtime. Same with the drop, actually. Now, those final airtime hills are basically floater in every row, but I still enjoy this ride a lot, even though that I like the twister layout of this ride because it's unique from many other different wooden coasters. This ride has really good airtime. Very underrated wooden coaster, definitely. I don't know why this ride gets so much hate. It's not even that rough. It's actually pretty smooth, and it's not a boring ride at all like some people say it is, because I thought this was an absolutely awesome wooden coaster. It's one of my favorite wooden coasters without a doubt, and I almost thought about putting this in my top 5 at first, but then I remembered there's a couple other wooden coasters I like more than this. So yeah, Great White is an awesome wooden coaster, and that's why it's coming in at the number 6 spot. Into the top 5 we go, and we have another Twister winning coaster. This is Twister at Knoebels, and this ride is awesome. It has some really good airtime. It basically makes a bunch of bank turns, but those bank turns are actually very forceful. And this is actually a very intense wooden coaster, surprisingly. This is almost my favorite wooden coaster at Knoebels, surprisingly. However, I still do think Phoenix is better, and you'll see Phoenix a little bit higher on this list. But it's extremely close because I really like this ride. This is an awesome wooden coaster. I'm going to go back to Knoebels probably this year, and I can't wait to ride Twister again because I remember I really enjoyed this ride. And it's always a walk-on usually, so you could just like marathon this ride over and over again, and that's what I usually do with Twister. And that's why Twister is coming in at the number 5 spot. At the number 4 spot, we have a very underrated Gravity Group coaster. This is Wooden Warrior at Quasi. This ride has crazy ejector airtime, surprisingly, and has full ejector airtime as well. I thought this ride wasn't even going to be that great, but I thought it was a really good ride, and that's why it's coming in at the number 4 spot. Into the top 3 we go, and number 3 is Phoenix at Knoebels. This ride is really good, actually. It's definitely overrated. One of the most overrated coasters I've ever ridden, definitely. But it has crazy ejector airtime. Well, it's actually not ejector, it's flow ejector. But still, this ride still really has some great airtime. Now, even though this is not my favorite winning coaster, or not like a top 2 winning coaster for me, I still really enjoy this ride. I'm going to be riding it again this year. I still think it will be at the number 3 spot, actually at the number 4 spot, because I am probably riding Mystic Timbers this year, and I do think Mystic Timbers will be better than Phoenix, but I don't know yet. Phoenix is still an awesome wooden coaster. I have not been in this in a while, so I'm really excited to finally get back on this thing again this year. So Phoenix is going to be taking the number 3 spot. Number 2 is Boulder Dash at Lake Compounds. I heard this ride was extremely rough, and I thought I wasn't going to be the biggest fan of Boulder Dash, but oh my god, I love Boulder Dash. This ride is insane. It has crazy ejector airtime in the back road. Those final hills feel like it's trying to kill you. This ride is just insane. I feel like Magnum XL200 is going to be like this. However, Magnum's a steel coaster. This ride's also really cool. It feels like you're a boulder falling down the mountain too. This ride has an awesome setting. It has awesome ejector airtime moments. The roughness is the only issue with the ride. It's almost a 10 out of 10 wooden coaster for me, but unfortunately due to the roughness, I give Boulder Dash a 9. You'll see a Boulder Dash review coming soon, so then you'll hear my thoughts on Boulder Dash even more. But Boulder Dash is definitely one of my favorite wooden coasters, and one of my favorite coasters I've ridden at the moment. This ride is just an awesome ride, and you have to go to Lake Compounds to check out this absolutely amazing wooden roller coaster. And finally, taking the number 1 spot is the one, the only, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is my favorite wooden coaster I've ever ridden, and my second favorite roller coaster I've ever ridden, only behind Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. This ride is just crazy, has some of the best ejector airtime moments I've ever experienced. Actually, it does have the best ejector airtime moment I've ever experienced, the Rolling Thunder Hill. That moment is crazy. This whole ride is berserk. It feels like you're riding a bull that's trying to throw you off. These final turns right here are a little bit rough, but the rest of the ride is pretty smooth, and I just absolutely adore El Toro. This ride is crazy intense for a wooden coaster. I call it the I-305 of wooden coasters. Well, if you don't know what I-305 stands for, it stands for Intimidator 305, so that's what I call El Toro. I call it the Intimidator 305 version of wooden coasters. Well, Lightning Rod's probably more intense, but I haven't ridden Lightning Rod yet. El Toro is just an absolute masterpiece. This thing is insane. That's definitely a reason to come to Great Adventure. And now with Jersey Devil opening there, everyone must come to Great Adventure to check out those two awesome coasters. I can't wait to ride Jersey Devil this year too. El Toro, though, is probably still going to be the best ride in the park. because El Toro is just so good. I think it will remain my number 2 coaster after this year, and I still do think Intimidator 305 will remain my number 1. Yes, I do think that El Toro is going to be better than Steel Vengeance, because Steel Vengeance honestly doesn't look like it has ejector airtime. I've heard it has flow ejector, but El Toro has ejector. So I definitely think I'm going to prefer El Toro over Steel Vengeance. Anyways, that is why El Toro is my number 1 wooden coaster. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 wooden coasters I've ever ridden. Make sure to stay tuned for my top 15 steel coasters I've ever ridden coming next week. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you all next time. Keep coasting on my coaster demons. Peace